Are you guys here?
Yes.
Yeah, so basically when we do with the forecasting, we not just do it with all the model. We not just do it with all the data. Not just do it with all the forecasting quantitative method. But we also have to do it with the qualitative method. If you really learn it later, you will see like we beside the quantitative methods like we already done, right? For the naval, like average, like the trip or the random walk forecasting, or later we learn about the time series regression model or the RMR, something like that, exponential smoothing, or even for neural network or the supportive vector. They are available there in the quantitative methods. But however, in case like the data is not available, it doesn't mean that you cannot do the forecasting, right? You can still do it, but in another ways, the qualitative method, and that's the main theme of the today's session. We say something about all the things like Delphi, the energies, the self-fog roll up, and something like that. Talking about that in this chapter, and with the quantitative methods that we will develop the skill over all the course. We will also learn about the qualitative methods and we combine them together. Uh, so we will have the combine method, right? The combine methods between the two, the quantitative methods and the qualitative methods at the same time. Okay, so the today's section will about the qualitative method forecasting, or people normally say it shortly, judgmental forecasting. Judgment, remember, judgmental forecasting. Okay, right. And we try to demonstrate about the understanding about general setting, the reason why we have to use the judgmental forecasting basically when the data are not available. To understand and distinguish between the different kinds of method in the qualitative methods of forecasting, we have to understand about the advantage and disadvantage of each method, and what is the key principle, what is the key step when we do the judgmental forecasting methods. And we have to know about like after when do the judgmental forecasting, how we can apply it to have to improve for the forecasting accuracies. What the people say about judgmental adjustment. Okay, very quick. And if you guys really want to do it, this book is quite a fit for you. So we just more focus on the chapter 5 about forecasting with our history. Sorry. So in case like you want to just get involved in that, I have the book over here. I have downloaded it out, and then you guys can just go into my Google Drive, click on and download it. Okay, it's free. It's not free actually, but I make it free for you. Okay, so if you want to download it, it's available over there. Okay, so about the basic step about the fundamental why we have to run for the judgmental forecast, it's quite common in some kinds of option like when we don't have the historical data. Maybe in some case the data is just not available. Yes, it's incompleted or it delayed. For example, incompleted. We have the data, but it's not enough. You just have a very few number of them. Like recently, that's will be your business just run about like 3 months ago, and you want to forecast about the futures of forecasting about the revenue, right? Just 3 months of revenue in history is not enough to develop for any kinds of quantitative model. And in another way, like the new product it allows, it's totally new. Okay, totally new. For example, tomorrow you run it like think about Tesla, right? Just think about Tesla. Okay, what do they run for? Electronic driver, right? And that's we self-driving AI applications, sometime like that. Okay, but however, think about like with us. We tomorrow like for Tesla, and they going to just develop for a new model, but it's not like electric cars, but now the thing run on water. Okay, the car run on water. No, that's not just water, fuel. Okay, so think about that way. When you really have the car just run on the waters, and you don't have to really worry about anything else. Like just like last night, I watched about movies, like a documentary movie, and they say about the idea of running the car by the fuel of water. Just completely about 20 years ago, and that is kind of trick. But however, there's some people that really think about that. So think about that way. When you really run in for the new, total new model of the car, right? Or self-driving cars run on water like fuel, you will not have any kinds of historical data, right? You will not have any kind of historical data about the water run uh, automobile, right? Totally new. So you don't have the historical data. The same thing, the kinds of background like the new competitor enter into the market. You don't know anything about that one, and that totally changed for your forecasting, because that's totally a brand new event that make your business, your revenue, your profit just run in a different way. So in those cases, right, you will not able to run the quantitative model anymore. Okay, the same thing happened with the kind of like big shock like the COVID-19. So with us, the economic, when we do for all the forecasting about the, for example, the stock market, and about the kind of GDP, the growth development of the macroeconomic country, we never can just consider and include for some kinds of like a shock like COVID-19 breakout. And when it really happened, it changed everything. And that's like a new market condition. That's completely new and unit, and we never just suffered that before. So all the forecasting that we run before has been changed, and it totally erupted. Okay, so that's the reason why. Okay, so you guy when run for Judgmental, the thing will be like most of the time you use this when there are no data available. Okay, so that's the reason why the statistical method, the forecasting quantitative methods cannot be applicable, right? So we going to do it. But however, in another case, sometimes you already run it, but you want to do for the judgmental adjustment. That means the data available, you already run for statistical forecast already. But however, you want to improve for the accuracies of the model, because new information has been come out, and you're pretty sure that the previous forecasting is no longer accurate, or the accuracy rate is now low. So you want to improve it. So you make at the same time simultaneously the judgmental adjustment, and that's how to improve for the forecasting quality. And the same way you can combine the forecasting. So you already run for the quantitative forecasting already. You have the data, you run for statistical adjustment, and now you run it at the same time the judgmental forecasting, and you combine both the result. So help you to have the very good kind of forecasting result. That would be the point. But however, remember about the limitation of the judgmental forecasting. They totally subjective. They totally based on the human recognition or human cognition. So of course, we are the human being. We have the limited memories. We will normally think about the thing, the experience that's happened recently, more than we base on the experience of 20 years ago or 40 years ago. We cannot totally remember like that. Just think about like me, right? I'm now about like 30 something, and it's very hard for me to remember about all the memory back to the time when I was in childhood. And the same thing happened with the human being recognition. So we have the limited memory. We cannot retrieve very far memory. uh, we sometimes make it like lack attention. For example, human being forecaster, right? When I'm fun, when I'm optimistic, So I can make the very good judgment forecasting, or when I'm very optimistic about the futures, I will make a, for example, I just feel very energized. I feel very optimistic, positive about the futures, and I say, wow, it looks like maybe in the next year, all our revenue, all the sale will go up for 100%. That's overestimated, and that's what had been like influenced by my good mood, right? My good feeling about the futures. But however, in another day, when I lost for the stock market and everything just with me, oh my God, everything going to the end. And yeah, on those days, I make all the forecasting really so pessimistic, negative, and see everything very dark. I say, no, we cannot make it. Next year, our revenue will just go up for about like 5%, or maybe we had negative growth rate, something like that. So that's the reason why. Okay. So it totally depends on the human cognition, and that should be one of the things to make all the things inconsistent. Sometimes it's clouded by the personal and political agenda. So in case like when the people about the charges of the forecast is not segregated, that means totally independent, totally like objective. So the forecaster, they have the motivation to just like generate out for the forecasting to be very kind of like what I would say very beneficial for the future, for the own interest. Đấy là trong trường hợp mà nhiều khi á, cái forecasting mà bởi những cái judgment forecasting nó sẽ không gọi là objective mà rất là subjective, và nó drive bởi cái benefit của người forecaster, kiểu giống như mấy đứa mà làm stock chẳng hạn, đúng không? Nhiều khi nó đang sắp tới nó muốn là tất cả các hàng của nó phải giao dịch nhiều lên trong thị trường, bọn broker chẳng hạn phải nói trên kia thực tế, thì nó sẽ nói là mấy anh chị ơi, thời gian tới thực tế là sẽ rất tốt, thị trường sẽ rất tốt, thị trường tăng lên 5%, 10% trong ngày mai, giả sử nó nói như thế. Mà thực tế nó biết là nó không thể như vậy được, nhưng mà nó vẫn tự đánh lừa bản thân mình, có khi nó không cố tình đâu, nhưng tự đánh lừa bản thân mình, và sau đó nó đưa ra những cái kết quả inaccurate forecasting about the market, like that's way. So in those case, they people will make more transaction and bring more kind of like commission for the forecaster or for the kind of like the stockbroker, right? So on those case, that's what happen. Okay. Right, and effective of outsourcing. So when the people, đây là cái yếu tố về mặt tâm lý nó bị neo giữ. Outsourcing tức là cái neo đó. Effect of outsourcing là when we the people think about the future and do the forecasting, they normally just based on their experience. They will normally say like, yeah, the outcome will be pretty familiar. So they will normally say like, yeah, it will come out with the very familiar outcome that they know. Đấy là trong trường hợp mà người ta chủ quan, là thường vì người ta thường có một cái tâm lý là khả năng cao, những cái khả năng xảy ra trong tương lai là những cái gì họ đã từng gặp nhiều trong quá khứ. Ví dụ như sắp tới những cái như là họ nói về GDP của những năm trước, của năm tới, đúng không? Thì người ta hay nói là GDP của năm tới thì chắc chắn là ok, tình hình ổn. Hoặc là họ sẽ nói rằng là ví dụ như về sale của những công ty về địa ốc đi, trong năm vừa rồi chẳng hạn, đó là năm 2019 qua năm 2020, người ta sẽ nói là chắc là tình hình nó sẽ ổn thôi, vì không có chuyện gì xảy ra hết, thì chắc là mọi người vẫn cứ sẽ mua đất thì địa ốc sẽ bán tốt. Tuy nhiên trên thực tế thì nó sẽ xảy ra Covid-19, đúng không? Xảy ra chuyện Covid năm tháng 3 năm 2020. Kể cả khi đó người ta nghe được những thông tin như vậy, họ vẫn sẽ just kiểu là không sao đâu. Nhiều năm về trước, ví dụ như we have stand through like the crisis of 2008 of the 1997 of the 1973, it's not that bad, so it's okay, kiểu như vậy. Thì họ sẽ nghĩ tới những chuyện là thì hồi xưa nó cũng từng như thế, mà họ đã quen với chuyện là lỡ có xảy ra một crisis thì nó cũng không tệ, và họ sẽ nói với tất cả mọi người là kết quả nó sẽ không tệ dựa trên những gì họ rất là familiar với. Nhưng mà thực tế là không phải như vậy, đúng không? Covid-19 là một cái gì đó rất khác, và làm cho mọi người họ không buôn bán được hàng hóa trên thị trường bất động sản, trên real estate market, and that's just grab out everything, right? So that's the effect of the assuring. Okay, so the people will just dumbly influenced by the prior information, and then they will undervaluating about the new and more current information. They just based on totally biased. Okay, that will be the point. So this are the principle about how you go through and you make a very good judgment forecasting. First of all, set for the forecasting task clearly and concisely, right? Second, do everything in a systematic approach. You have to do it very scientific. You cannot just make it by on yourself. You cannot just make it by yourself. You have to follow for a systematic approach, a framework. Then you document and justify all the time you do any kind of just all the time you do for judgment forecasting. You have to write it out to document it, and then later you come back and review it and come back and review it. So all the time like that, based on the document, you can see like how it has been improved or getting worse over time. That will be the way. Okay, systematically evaluate the forecasting. Remember, you got all the things reviewed and documented. You can later justify and you can see how the model, how your forecasting are doing good or well, or it's very bad. Okay, and you have to do everything segregated forecaster, segregated user, totally everything must be objective, not subjective. All right. So that's a basic principle of when you do for the judgmental forecasting. And as I already say about judgmental forecasting, right? Forecasting methods, they can divide into three different ways. First of all, you are the model about the data, quantitative methods, or you do it based on all the judgment, the qualitative methods, or you can combine both of them, right? The mixed methods between the judgment methods and the quantitative methods. With the judgment methods only, we have over here in the book, and also in this chapter we cover about 6 different methods. Delphi methods, when you create and you just gather for their kind of like the judgment from a large group of experts, and then you build for consensus. Analogies, that's when you also use the group of the expert and you ask them for the feedback about they just like recommendation, and they compare it based on their knowledge about something similar. For example, like with the same criteria, you want to see like you going to run for the new model on the totally new product, like the water run on the car, right? The car run on the water, and you would say like, hey, think about either any kind of the thing I can do for the analogies. That's mean something very similar before. So you get it, and you get the same model of the electronic device, right? Trong trường hợp đây là trong trường hợp analogies là Delphi là để phỏng vấn một cái đám người chung, rồi hỏi ý kiến của họ về cái forecasting, từng người họ đánh giá forecast trong tương lai thế nào, mình kết hợp lại kết quả. Cái thứ hai là analogies vẫn dựa trên các expert, nhưng mà ở lần này là mình dựa trên một cái nguyên mẫu. Giả sử như mình sắp bán xe Hero thì mình mới lấy một cái nguyên mẫu về cái dữ liệu của, không phải dữ liệu nhưng mà là mình lấy những cái nguyên mẫu của cái tình hình bán của những cái sản phẩm gần giống của nó, ví dụ như là xe điện, và mình kêu là ơi các chuyên gia ơi, mấy ông nghĩ gì là hồi xưa dựa trên kết quả xe điện này thì ông so sánh kết quả có khác gì lắm so với kết quả bán xe điện với lại cái kết quả chúng ta sắp tới bán là xe Hydro. Thì analogy tức là cái điểm giống, nhưng trong từ thuật ngữ trong forecasting tức là những cái điểm giống. Thì ông hãy tìm cho tôi thì những cái điểm giống của ông, tưởng tượng là kịch bản xảy ra với lại xe Hydro chúng ta sắp bán có khác gì lắm với xe điện không, có sale có giống hay không, có revenue có giống hay không, có profit có giống hay không, hay là các cost nó có giống hay không, hay là có khác nhau gì. Thì mấy ông expert này ông sẽ cho mình cái câu đó. Sales force roll up, survey the sales force to create from bottom up forecast by the customer and item. You want to just forecast about the future sales of all the company, right? So first of all, you ask for all of the kind very low employee. Mình sẽ hỏi ý kiến, nếu như mình muốn hỏi ví dụ như sale của toàn công ty thì bằng cách là mình có thể hỏi ý kiến của những người mà ở cấp thấp nhất, những salesman. rồi mình cộng dồn lại hết tất cả những cái ý kiến của họ. Bản thân anh nghĩ là trong tháng tới anh sẽ sắp tới bán xe hydro, anh nghĩ là ông bán được bao nhiêu, thì tôi nghĩ là tôi bán được 2 chiếc, còn người khác thì nói tôi bán được 3 chiếc, người khác nữa tôi bán được 4 chiếc. Tất cả những người đó gom lại nhau thì mình tính cộng dồn lại thì mình sẽ là từ bottom up, mình tính lên được là cả công ty mình sẽ bán được bao nhiêu chiếc xe, để từ đó mình tính ra được là revenue, mình tính ra được nên sản xuất bao nhiêu xe, kiểu như vậy. Còn executive opinion, the combination of the views of executive manager to create a top line, a top down, a top line forecast. So you ask about the thing of the executive, doesn't mean the managers, about what do you think about the futures of our sale, and he say, yeah, we occupy for about 5% or 10% of all the market, and you think about like, okay, the market is about this big, so we will occupy for this much, 10% of them, something like that. Okay. Trong trường hợp executive opinion, tức là mình hỏi ý kiến của các ông sếp, thay vì mình hỏi ý kiến từ các nhân viên rồi tính từng người họ sẽ bán được bao nhiêu rồi mình cộng dồn, thì bây giờ mình sẽ hỏi các ông sếp thì thường là tiếp cận với cách khác. Ông nghĩ rằng là thị trường hiện nay toàn bộ xe hơi chẳng hạn, đây là cái mà mọi người hay gặp trên sách tan, là thị trường hiện nay toàn bộ xe hơi, nói chung là những loại xe không phải chạy bằng fossil fuel, kiểu như những không phải chạy bằng nguyên liệu hóa thạch á, thì là có ví dụ như là 100 triệu chiếc, thì mình dự tính xe hydro mình sẽ chiếm 1% trong số đó thôi. Ví dụ như vậy tức là 1 triệu chiếc. Rồi 1 triệu chiếc như vậy thì hiện nay mình đang có khoảng 2-3 đối thủ, cứ cho mỗi đối thủ là chiếm khoảng tầm 20, 30%, 40%, mình cho là mình chiếm được 40% của thị trường. Như vậy từ 1 triệu chiếc mình sẽ chiếm khoảng 4-5 nghìn chiếc. Và như thế mình tính ra được là mình sẽ cái sale của năm tới của mình là bao nhiêu. Mọi người hiểu ý này không? Thì ai?
Dạ hiểu thầy ơi.
Nói gì nãy giờ nói mấy cái này có gì không hiểu không? Okay, customers the intention. Later we will say about we're going to just share for the questionnaire, and then we ask customer about their intention to buy the product, and we forecast about the sale of our company based on the intention. Okay, but we talk about that later, and prediction of the market. So we do it with the crowdsourcing, but this just was for fun. All right, for the Delphi methods, I already tell you, right? They go through some kinds of like the interview of the group, of the expert. So a facilitator or like coordinator, you can say them all. They will just gather for a group of the expert. Of course, they would be totally separated. They don't know each other. So make sure that the idea of one guy will not affect into the idea of the other guy. Okay. So in this case, we will send out for them for they ask for them the forecasting challenge, the test, and we want the expert to give us some kinds of recommendation. What would be the solution? The first guy fill out for some solution and hit forecasting. Another guy he do with the solution and another forecasting, and the same thing with the other. So for example, he had a group of 20 experts. We asked like about what do you think about the sale of our company in next year. The first guy say, yeah, we do it about 300,000 cars. Another guy say, yeah, I think like we're about 400. Another guy say like, yeah, I think that should be 350. Another say 200. Another say 400,000, something like that. So at the end, the facilitator, they will collect all the feedback or about forecast of all the experts like that, and the facilitator think about that one, and he give the feedback out, and he want the expert to do it one more time, review for the forecasting one more time, and the expert will one more time send it back, do the forecasting again, and send it back for the facilitator. The facilitator, he think like it's not good, send out one more time and send back one more time until when they feel like it has been complicated or have been completed. So they draw out for the final report. Okay, so final report based on the aggregating of the expert forecasting Okay, that take a lot of time. Okay.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah.
About the task and the challenges, they are on the same, or we only like divide one single task for all the experts?
No, we just ask them to do the same task for all the experts.
So
So
they
we
do it
maybe
like
ask for the same question,
privately.
like
They do it privately.
simultaneously.
Or
What? What do you
I mean, like they do they do it privately? So another one
Yeah, they
will not hear the
do the
other.
same. They do the same. No. So I have, for example, the facilitator, okay? Facilitator. He will say like, okay, guy, I have a question. What do you think about the future revenue of the sale of next year? So he sent out for the same question for all 20 experts. And all the 20 experts, they do the research, they all forecasting by themselves, separately. They don't know each other. Okay. And then after that, they send it out for the facilitator, and facilitator they collect all the forecasting of the total all the expert. And he say like, wow, why there too many different between the revenue? Some of the guys say that must be like 400,000. Another guy he think just 100,000. Another guy say 500,000. Another guy just 200,000. So they too different to each other. Look like it's not good. So he feel like nah, they're not consistent. So I send it back and say, hey guy, I feel like the result is not so consistent, and could you please just carefully do it one more time for me? And all the experts run it one more time, and they send out for the facilitator, and he think like still not good. Send back one more time, do it one more time, send it back, and until this may be not just like 7 step, maybe like 10 step, like maybe like I'm sorry 11 step, or maybe the loop will be just start and go and start for maybe up to 21 times or something like that, but until at the end when all the experts require the consistent in the judgment. So facilitator he say that's good, I will write out for the report. Kiểu như vậy thôi, đơn giản vậy thôi. Tức là bắt mấy ông này ông làm một cách độc lập, nhận định đi, nhận định xem từ tương lai là ví dụ như năm tới sale bao nhiêu, đến khi nào mà mấy ông này ông làm separatedly mà ông làm carefully luôn, đến khi nào mà tất cả mọi người họ đều ra một cái kết quả gần gần giống nhau á, thì đến lúc đó facilitator này ông sẽ cảm thấy yên tâm và ông đưa ra cái final report dựa trên cái kết quả của những ông này. Thì nói là một cái gì đó nó khá đơn giản thôi, nhưng mà thật ra thì nó phức tạp hơn. Và những cái kiểu như là Delphi method này thì hắn sẽ tốn rất nhiều thời gian. Những cái gì liên quan tới qualitative method là nó tốn rất nhiều thời gian để phân tích từng câu, từng từ, từng ngữ của từng người. Nó khó lắm, không đơn giản. Ok, Đạt hiểu không Đạt?
Dạ em hiểu rồi thầy ơi.
Okay. thì we have some kinds of like the problem, challenge, that means the disadvantage. First of all, you have to have a group of experts from 5 to 20 experts, and who have a kind of like the dominant knowledge about the thing we're going to do with, right? So we have to gather them from 5 to 20 of them. Sometimes we don't have that enough. Sometimes even we cannot find up to 5 guys, right? So that's the problem. Anonymity, that means the expert must be totally separated. They cannot be influenced by any kind of like political power or social pressure for their forecasting. They must be totally separated. They must be totally objective. Okay, and equally, that means all the experts have the equal weight. They have the same say, equal say. So that means nobody is more important than any other. Okay, then when we make the adjustment, we base on all of them feedback, of them idea, of them recommendation, and then we finally just concentrate and aggregate all the things together. Okay, the other thing, like we had the iteration and final forecasting, like because that's too long for the Delphi method. You think about then when we send out for the expert just generate for the forecasting, None of them do at the same time, right? Some of them just take it like about 2 days to finish for forecasting, but another one that can take it up to 10 days. So you have to wait until all of them generate finished for the forecasting. So the facilitator, they have to wait, and that take a lot of time. And maybe at the end of the iteration, right? The this repeat too long, and people will feel like no, it's too time consuming. I lose of the interest, and I'm no longer cohesive. That means I don't want to just stay with the research anymore. Okay, and the facilitator, he have a very important role. You have to find a very good facilitator. If not, if he not sufficient, if he not effective, and he don't really have the good understanding about the domain, that's what we are doing for the forecasting, so he cannot make it success. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so that's the Delphi method. Right. Another way, analogies. So in this case, như hồi nãy thầy có nói, we say about we try to, because we don't have the data about a total new product, so we try to take something very similar and we just it. For example, in the real estate way, right, in the bất động sản. So when we try to sell out, we forecast or we do the evaluation about the forecasting of the price of one real estate. So we have a building like that, and we don't know about the price. So we will make some analogies. That means I'm trying to find out another house which quite similar to my house. The building, they the same number of floor, they the same height, right? They had the same direction of geographies. They had the same like densities of the people surround. The people population living surrounding the same. They had the same kind of like convenient. Like if both of them are close to a school, both of them close to supermarket, both of them have very good kind of accessibilities. That's very easy to go into the bowl of the building the same way, right? You cannot make them kind of analogy between one like the building in the countryside and another one in the like big and crowded city, right? So trong trường hợp này thì mình sẽ nhờ các chuyên gia họ đánh giá về trong, bằng có thể đọc thêm những đoạn này thì nói nhanh thôi. Thì trong trường hợp này họ sẽ đánh giá là có những hai cái ví dụ như trong vừa rồi thì nói là hai miếng đất bất động sản, thì để mà đánh giá tương lai của cái bất động sản này so với lại là nó tăng như bao nhiêu thì thầy chẳng có thông tin nhé. Cách thế nào? Cách tốt nhất là thầy sẽ lấy một cái gì đó nó rất là similar to nó. Ví dụ như là cũng tìm một miếng đất tương tự ở một cái khu vực khác người ta đã định giá rồi, và cái miếng đất này nó có giá trị, nó cũng một cái hướng nhà này, cũng chừng đó tầng này, nó cũng nằm trên một cái khu phố đông người giống hệt nhau, rồi cũng gần tất cả các tiện ích đó, kiểu như thế. Thì mình sẽ nhờ các chuyên gia đánh giá xem là the similarities and the difference between the two real estate. Okay, and then we base on the analogies and the recommendation and also the idea and the feedback of the expert to do for the forecasting beyond that. All right. Right, so this will be not the thing so popular. Scenario forecasting, if you have learned about the decision tree. It's not like decision tree, but like the decision framework. So you know, like for example, they normally just create for all the possible scenario. For example, the scenario that we make no money, the scenario that we make quite a good money, the scenario we make very good money, with extremely good money, and the best scenario when we make a lot unbelievable money, something like that. So the people, when we do for the forecasting like that, so we just generate for based on the not the data only, but like the scenario case. So in the futures, we have a 5 different scenario, right? And the outcome is different. Maybe one like they just make it very low, one they make it quite high, and something like that. However, for each scenario, we have the different possibilities. For example, over here, if you remember about how the people do it for the conditional probability. So for each scenario, they have the different probability, right? For example, the possibility that we read into scenario 5 about just 10%, like the worst scenario, just like 10%. Most of the time, the highest possibilities will jump with something between, something in the middle, right? Maybe some of them just occupy up to like 40%. But however, we base on the outcome and also the probabilities of the different scenario, and then we can measure for the forecasting of the futures. I guess this is pretty kind of like familiar with you guys. You got it? Scenario based, okay. Okay, new product forecasting and the same thing I told you already, right? The first way I asked about the sales force composite roll up. That means I will ask like about the forecasting of each salesman of all the people in the bottom of the organization, and I ask for each salesman like, hey, what do you think about the futures of the sale and how many of the car you can sell, and each of them confirm for me a number, and then I add up it all so it can make up to the total numbers of the organization sale, right? However, that sounds very kind of easy to do, right? But it takes time, and you think like the salesman, they usually close to their customer and the product, so they know everything about, they maybe not everything, but they know it very well about the customer trend tendencies, what they interest, and what could be the characteristic of the product, so they maybe they can make a quite a good forecasting. However, that can be very biased because for each customer, for each salesman, right, they're not well trained for the forecasting, so they make all the judgment based on the totally subjective idea mindset, and that may be totally wrong. And when you add up for the totally wrong idea of the different guy, of a lot of guy, that make a very huge mistake, right? It's not successful, and then you make it, maybe you generate too low or too high forecasting, because that's maybe all the salesmen now are very optimistic, and they add it up and they make a kind of like extremely high forecasting compared to the real life that's really coming out. Or maybe they are so sad and they are working but not very well, and all of them add up and they make it like, oh, it's super low for the future. All right. However, we can just go into the executive opinion, and I told you, right, you will involve all the staff of the top managerial structures of the organization, and you ask them about the future. What do they think about that? They do it with the strategic management idea, and they say like about the based on the kind of very strategic idea about the cell, how many percentage, what will be the kind of like percentage occupation of the company, and then they base on that and do all the calculation on. Uh, so they have some kind of expert, but however, in those way, maybe they are just not really so realistic because their executive opinion. They all want the organization to develop and get a very good outcome, right? So sometimes they would just think about the future very easy, but in others way. Finally, we can ask for the customer intention. We can ask for like, hey guy, sorry, I've sent out for the survey, okay? Nếu như mấy đứa mà học ở trong mấy cái môn mà chuyên về business á, marketing á, thì mấy đứa thì không học marketing. Nhưng mà marketing thì nó thường xuyên người ta trước khi launch một cái new product thì người ta sẽ đi ra hỏi customer intention about new product. Kiểu như là sản phẩm của tôi có những đặc điểm như sau, thì ông có mua hàng không? Ông customer ông chỉ đánh vô các dấu câu trả lời thôi, và ông sẽ thể hiện ra được là họ đang có ý định mua hàng hay không mua hàng. The problem is the questionnaire it will be easy and quick to do, right? But however, the questionnaire just focus about the intention. You cannot never sure that if they had the intention, but if they really want to buy it. Maybe now they had the intention to buy it, but later when they really do the behavior, they don't buy it because they don't feel safe. They change their mind. the budget intention just have about 60%. That is really coming to true. It's true that they will do for the purchasing, but the rest of them they will not do it. Okay, and also for the survey limitation, you ask for about the customer intention, you have to base on the survey, but the survey generated by yourself, and it maybe is have a lot of error out there. Is some of the non-response bias, or maybe it just come from you, your problem. You don't really understand about the basic, and you create very bad survey, and that's could be the point. Okay, and lastly, judgmental assessment. So when you do it, when you have already had the judgmental adjustment, you can combine the judgmental adjustment forecasting with the quantitative forecasting to create for a more structured approach. You can improve for the accuracies of both the judgmental based on the judgmental adjustment into the quantitative result. This is especially very useful when the new information come out. Okay, so think about like when you already do and you create for the forecasting already, but however the new information come out, like for example the COVID-19 breakout, like the competitor has just already launched for the another new product, and that's totally a new information. So at that time, even when you do it, you already create for your forecasting, the quantitative forecasting based on the historical data, the time series. But however, you are better to run another judgmental adjustment, and you adjust the result based on the new information. Okay. So in those ways, that's going to have to improve for the accuracies of the result of forecasting. And that's the main topic of the today's section. Actually, like I told you, if we just do it with the theoretical class, it will not take too long. Okay. And the today's section, remember, we going to just do it with the just the quiz number 2, and that's very easy. So in the today's section, we don't have the R script submission. You do it all in the last class already. And now the today's section, we have the quiz number 2 only. Actually, it just have a 5 question, very short, but however, be careful, because most of them could be the multiple choice. Not the multiple choice, but multiple answers. So that means you have different answer at the same time in the multiple choice. Okay, so be careful with that. And that's gonna be it for today's section. Any question?
Yeah,
The time series. No. Okay. The next class will be time series regression model. The next class we will go in to have a homework. Homework number 2, but however it just come out like in the next 2 weeks, so it's not now. Remember about that, you guys will have to finish the first homework, right? It's due on the November 7th, so 3 more days. Okay, I give it to you for up to Sunday, but remember to submit it. Up until now there's just one guy submitted yet. But anyway, like Hoàng Anh, you all the time are welcome to resubmit if you want to do any kind of adjustment about your work, okay? Right. If you don't have any other kind of question, the today's section class will be end here. Normally the class will be about 2.5 hours, and this is almost there. Okay. Alright. Có còn câu hỏi gì nữa không? Không đúng không? Không đúng không? Đạt.
Dạ
không thầy. Nhà có câu hỏi gì không? Không đúng không? Thôi nếu không có câu hỏi gì thì hôm nay đơn giản vậy thôi. Vì cái phần này thì nó chỉ là lý thuyết thôi. Mọi người về thì làm bài quiz cho thầy, đọc lại cuốn sách và làm bài quiz. Thật ra Judgmental Forecasting thì mình có làm, nhưng mà ít lắm. Thật sự là mà nói thì về Data Scientist thì ít khi mình làm Judgmental Forecasting. Thường là mấy cái này là mình sẽ nhờ tới expert mình làm thôi. Mình đưa cho ví dụ trong công ty thì mình sẽ nhờ phòng nghiên cứu thị trường, nó sẽ làm giùm mình, nhưng mình không làm. Rồi. If you don't have any other question, I guess that should be all for today. All right?
Yes, all right.
Okay, let's
Yes, thank
Okay.
you a lot.
All right. Up until this point of the course, if you have any kind of problem, just let me know, okay? If you have any kind of like problem, just let me know. So in case like you want me to adjust for any kinds of contents of the class, you want me to slow down, you want me to like you feel all the thing is so difficult for you to understand, just let me know, okay? For the first part, up until the time series regression model for the next week and the week after, and then later for the webinar, everything just quite easy going. But however, when we jump into the time series decomposition and later for other chapters, the thing will be fastened. They will be fastened and they will be more challenging. And like for every couple of weeks, we like 2 weeks, we have the one homework. So be careful, right? But up until there, we'll be fine. Okay, class? No problem, right? Okay, we'll see you later. Just end up the class over here, right?